നമസ്കാരം. ടി വിത്ത് TPS എന്ന പരിപാടിയുടെ കാര്യമാണ് ഇത്. കേരള ഇന്റർനാഷണൽ സെന്ററിന്റെയും വിസ്ഡം ഇന്റർനാഷണലിന്റെയും ആഭിമുഖ്യത്തിലാണ് ഞാൻ അവതരിപ്പിക്കുന്നത്. ഇന്ന് നാം ചർച്ച ചെയ്യുന്നത് ഇന്ത്യ ചൈന അതിർത്തി സംഘടനത്തെ പറ്റിയും ഇന്നത്തെ സ്ഥിതിവിശേഷത്തെ പറ്റിയുമാണ്. ഇതിന് ഏറ്റവും യോഗ്യനായ ഒരു ബ്രിഗേഡിയർ സുരേഷ് നായർ നമ്മളോടൊപ്പമുണ്ട്. അദ്ദേഹത്തിന്റെ പ്രത്യേകത, അദ്ദേഹം ലഡാക്കിൽ തന്നെ പ്രവർത്തിച്ചിട്ടുള്ളയാളാണ്. നമ്മളീ പറയുന്ന വാക്കുകളൊക്കെ അദ്ദേഹത്തിന് വളരെ നന്നായിട്ട് അറിയാം. ആ സ്ഥലങ്ങളൊക്കെ എവിടെയാണെന്നും എങ്ങനെയാണെന്നുമെല്ലാം. അതുകൊണ്ട് അദ്ദേഹത്തിന്റെ വിവരണങ്ങളും അദ്ദേഹത്തിന്റെ അഭിപ്രായങ്ങളും വളരെ പ്രധാനമാണ്. വെൽക്കം ബ്രിഗേഡിയർ സുരേഷ് നായർ.
Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you.
ചരിത്രം ആവർത്തിക്കുകയാണ്. ഇന്ത്യ ചൈന അതിർത്തി ആവർത്തിച്ചിരിക്കുകയാണ്. കാരണം വളരെ അപ്രതീക്ഷിതമായി ഏകദേശം 1962 ഓർമ്മിപ്പിക്കുന്നത് പെട്ടെന്ന് ഈ കോവിഡ് കാലത്ത് ഒരിക്കലും പ്രതീക്ഷിക്കാത്ത തരത്തിലാണ് ചൈന ലൈൻ ഓഫ് ആക്ച്വൽ കൺട്രോൾ നടന്ന് നമ്മുടെ എത്തിയത്. അത് മുമ്പുണ്ടായതിനേക്കാളെല്ലാം 2017 ലോക്ക്ഡൌണിനേക്കാളും കൂടുതൽ ഗുരുതരമായ ഒരു ആക്രമണം എന്നുള്ളത്. പക്ഷെ ആദ്യം മുതൽ തന്നെ ഈ ചർച്ചകളിൽ ഇത് പരിഹരിക്കാമെന്ന് രണ്ട് രാജ്യങ്ങളും സമ്മതിക്കുകയും, എന്നാൽ നിർഭാഗ്യവശാൽ 15-ാം തീയതി ജൂൺ 15-ാം തീയതി രാത്രി നമ്മുടെ 20 സൈനികരെ അവർ വധിക്കുകയുണ്ടായി. എത്ര ചൈനക്കാർ മരിച്ചു എന്ന് അവർ ഇപ്പോഴും പറയുന്നു. അനുസരിച്ച് ഏകദേശം 100 ചൈനക്കാർ മരിച്ചു. അതോടെ ഈ സമാധാനപരമായ ചർച്ചകൾ എന്നോട് മാറിയിട്ട് ഒരു യുദ്ധസമാനമായ ഒരു രീതിയിലേക്ക് മാറി. പ്രധാനമന്ത്രി ലഡാക്കിൽ പോയി നമുക്ക് സമാധാനം പാലിക്കാൻ മാത്രമല്ല യുദ്ധം ചെയ്യാനും അറിയാം എന്ന് തീരുമാനിച്ചു. അതോടെ ചില സാമ്പത്തിക നിലപാടുകൾ എടുത്തു. നമ്മുടെ ഈ ചൈനീസ് ആപ്സ് നിരോധിച്ചു. ചില കോൺട്രാക്റ്റുകൾ പിൻവലിച്ചു. കൂടുതൽ ആയുധങ്ങൾ നേടാൻ നേരത്തെ ഓർഡർ ചെയ്തിരുന്ന ആയുധങ്ങൾ കുറെ കൂടെ വേഗത്തിൽ എത്തിക്കാൻ തയ്യാറാണ്. അങ്ങനെ ഒരു 2-3 തരത്തിലോ, ഒന്ന് സമാധാനപരമായ അപ്രോച്ച്, രണ്ടാമത്തേത് യുദ്ധം ചെയ്യാനുള്ള തയ്യാറിനെ പറ്റി അറിയിക്കുക, മൂന്നാമത്തേത് സാമ്പത്തിക കാര്യങ്ങളിൽ ചില നിലപാടുകൾ. അപ്പൊ അങ്ങനെ അതുകൊണ്ട് ഇതൊരു പ്രത്യേക തരത്തിലുള്ള ഒരു സംഭവമാണ് ഇപ്പോഴത്തെ കാലത്ത്. അത് എങ്ങനെ തോന്നുന്നു? ഇത് വ്യത്യസ്തമാണോ? അതെങ്ങനെയാണ് മുമ്പുള്ളതിനേക്കാൾ വ്യത്യസ്തമായിരിക്കും? You can speak.
Yeah. At the outset, Ambassador, I thank you very much for inviting me to this very typical deliverance from your stable, with TPS, keeping in times with the
we have been also here, but on the virtual team.
All right. And especially keeping in times with the environment of this pandemic created by Wuhan virus. I would rather call it Wuhan virus than COVID-19.
You are with Trump on that?
I'm not with Trump. Right from the beginning, I've been calling it Wuhan virus. Trump calls it Chinese virus.
No, he calls it both.
Okay. So it's a very novel program, and I'm very happy to be in the 4th episode of this program. He's already given you my background. Just to highlight that, during my early part of my career, I served in the same area of Ladakh quite early, 74, 76, in Chumatang, and then to Eastern Ladakh, where we were deployed and patrolling. Of course, the environment, circumstances, the tactical compulsions, strategic compulsions are far different from that are now. But the difficulties of the terrain, the geographical features, and the environment have not changed and will not change. As they always say, God made geography but once, the Hebrew saying. So I can very well relate to the problems and difficulties in encountering these issues on the Ladakh border, and can relate it very well because those are very fresh in my mind even today. All right. Now, coming to the present, or why China has done this or why we are in this environment. Before that, I thought I will just give the viewer a view or overview on the India-China border on a couple of maps. Allow me to show some maps.
Sure.
The first map, this map is an overall view of the Indo-China border. You can absorb the enormity and the size of the border, and it is across huge mountainous Himalayas, starting from northeast, from the Aksai Chin area. It comes down where these are all disputed areas. These are areas. Firstly, let's see opposite Ladakh, that is the Aksai Chin area, partly opposite Xinjiang province of China and Tibet Autonomous Region. Then coming down, it borders with Himachal Pradesh and Uttaranchal. Then we have the Nepal, of course it is a different border. Then we have a border with Sikkim. This is generally referred to the LAC. And here too, although it is referred to the LAC, from here, the eastern portion of the line of control is also referred to as McMahon line as far as India is concerned. So China doesn't accept that. China doesn't accept McMahon line. So without going into the history behind these borders, I can only say that post 1962, the border between India and China is not demarcated. It is called line of actual control. That is the area till where China came in 62, and then of course we all know that they withdrew. So that area is considered as a line of control. Some adjustments have been made where it's required. In this, there are two. Of course, there are a lot of disputed areas along the border, which I will cover a little later. But the two major controversies are Aksai Chin in Ladakh, which India claims as its own, rightly so, because it was occupied by China in the late 50s, and of course during the 62 war. And then Arunachal Pradesh in Indian possession with Indian population, but claimed by China, and they refer it to these days as Southern Tibet. Now coming to as I was mentioning, the border is not fully demarcated, and the line of actual control is neither clarified nor confirmed by the two countries. In fact, even China has not even given their maps indicating their perception of the line of actual control. They have not given.
That is the biggest issue.
Yes, that's the biggest issue. So it is really perception. But although both the countries and both the armies are aware of the claims made by each other, they are quite aware. But China has not officially confirmed that. So to keep it, open-ended, to create conflicts such as this and put pressure on India, so they have not really accepted to exchange maps or clarified their positions. Now, the sector has been divided. The whole LIC has been divided into three sectors. The western sectors, which I mentioned, which I'll show you again. Union Territory of Ladakh is about 1,600 kilometers long. The middle sector, which is about 545 kilometers long, runs across Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh border. And the eastern sector, starting from Sikkim right up to through Arunachal Pradesh, it's about 1,400 kilometers long. So I already mentioned that Aksai Chin and Arunachal are the most controversial issues as far as both the countries are concerned, although there are disputes all along the border. Now, I can show you now this as a depiction of the various sectors. The western sector consists of the Ladakh region. See, it's about 1570 kilometers long. Aksai Chin and areas beyond Aksai Chin, where China has come in during the 62 war, right up to the Galwan Valley top and down to Pangang So. So those areas, and also north up to Despang Plains. So those are areas occupied by China in 62 war. Aksai Chin, of course, is under their illegal occupation right late 50s. Then you have the central sector, as I mentioned, 545 kilometers, and then the eastern sector, which excludes Bhutan. There is a dry junction there, which you all are aware that we had an issue there in Doklam, which of course was also a standoff, which I'll cover a little later. And then finally, the Arunachal border, which is again, as I mentioned, a major point of dispute between India and China. Now, why LAC often flares up, which I think till recently, now of course people are more aware because of this. Otherwise, it always used to just come in the third or fourth page in the paper and that's it, and hardly covered by media. Now, of course, it is assumed tremendous importance. Now, leaving aside Aksai Chin and Arunachal, just taking along the LAC itself, there are 23 disputed and sensitive areas along this unresolved line of actual control. As far as Ladakh is concerned, the Union Territory of Ladakh is concerned, the Demchok, Rid Heights, Dumshed, Pangong Tso, Chumar and Spangpur Gap. See, please note, these are the accepted disputed areas between India and China. And the present conflict or present standoff in the Galwan Valley never comes in the list of disputes. That's a major difference. So it's not as if it is just a normal perception problem. It is a problem added on to the perception or problem which of course then added on with the perception problem in that area, which I will cover a little later. When Himachal is concerned, there are lesser issues in the central sector, very few issues. Kaurik, Shipikla, they are the only two issues, and Barahoti and Pulansunda in Uttarakhand. Himachal, there are four disputed areas. Then, of course, in Arunachal, there are number of disputed areas: Namkachu, Sumdurongchu, Asafila, Longju, Dikchu, Yangtze, Fishtail 1 and 2, Dimang Valley. These are all used to come in various, standoffs, small standoffs, major standoffs. These used to come. Then, of course, this Bhutan border tri-junction came up. Although there is no dispute on that, but again, how it happened. There are about 300 transgression by PLA troops every year, which is normal. Which is the normal par for the course. It shot up to 426 in 2017, which itself should have given us an indication that China is changing the trend of aggressiveness on the line of actual control. Now, some of the major standoffs, I won't go into the details, some of the major standoffs, besides 62 war, and of course we had the 67 limited conflict in Sikkim, which
firing took place, right?
Yeah, firing took place. No, we had to recapture some areas. We had to recapture some areas. Physical attack took place. In two areas, physical attack took place, and it was a major victory for India, and China had to, retreat from those areas. It is something similar to PP.
That was the last time firing took place.
Yes, that is the last time, and then thereafter, in the 70s, there was a small ambush of an Assam Rifle patrol, which also had some casualties on the Indian side where firing took place. After that, I think in 1974 or 75. After that, there have been no firing. So the major face-offs of Sumdurongchu, which most of us are familiar, which is a huge standoff in Arunachal, and it carried on for a long time, and India undertook an Operation Falcon. It was an infantry brigade was inducted to Simitang to counter China's aggressive moves, and that, of course, that move by General Sundarji, then the Chief of Army Staff, stalled the whole issue, and the issue died off. Then, of course, India made Arunachal Pradesh full state in December 1996. And after the thaw, Rajiv Gandhi became the first Indian Prime Minister to visit China in 34 years. And thereafter, they started the developments of, the understanding on border, etc., which we will cover as we go along. Then, of course, there was a Despang standoff, which happened when Xi Jinping visited India. And that is the 23-day face-off. It's very embarrassing to both at least to India. I don't know whether China had deliberately done it as per its norms or behavior. It must have been a deliberate event done, because those days PLA was not exactly directly under Xi Jinping. Of course, he changed it.
Also to show that any improvement in bilateral relations will not affect their claim on our territory. That was the mistake.
Right. And I think there was also a PLA content to that standoff, in the sense that PLA had always a different or a separate viewpoint from the party and the president. And they used to have their own pressures created. That, of course, Xi Jinping done away with, keeping the PLA now directly under him. So So now that equation change, and the PLA now will be totally under Xi Jinping, and any action by PLA such as this, we would have had the approval of Xi Jinping. That's very clear. Probably this bank may not have had, but certainly this standoff would have had the approval from Xi Jinping. Then, of course, the 73-day confrontation at Doklam, where the issue was totally different. A third country was involved. There were many strategic assessments as to why China undertook it, whether it was meant to create a rift between India and Bhutan, to wean away Bhutan from Indian influence. But the tactical necessity was that China entered the Doklam Plateau and constructed a road, or attempted to construct a road towards the Jamperi Ridge of Bhutan, towards the Bhutan border, and attempting to shift the tri-junction border between India, China, and Bhutan. So that it was not exactly concerning our border, but having had a relationship where we are protecting Bhutan's border, we reacted and stopped the construction from happening, and the standoff, of course, took place for about 73 days. It was the first time, or as an exceptional case, a lot of troop movement also took place at that point of time. Something similar now, but in a lesser scale. Yeah. Now, coming to the present standoff, or shall we do it a little later? Or
No, carry on.
now, coming to the present standoff, this is the area of the conflict. I would like to show you some important landmarks or areas which are very, very important to the conflict. First, this is of course the topographical map of Eastern Ladakh or Ladakh. This road is Leh Darbuk, which always existed. Always existed, and the road comes to Leh from Srinagar via the Zojila Pass, and then on to Leh through Kargil. It comes to Leh, and from Leh the road takes off to Darbuk, and from Darbuk, when I was serving, there was no further roads connecting upwards or northwestwards or northeastwards or eastward. Anyway, there are hardly any roads. So now, with our strategic airfield of Daulak Beg Oldie (DBO), which is linked to many other issues which I don't want to now elaborate. We made a strategic road from Darbuk to Daulak Beg Oldie over the Shiok River, or beside the Shiok River. There was a bridge construction.
On the side of the line of control.
Absolutely on our side of the line of control. And this road has been going on since 2003. In fact, that is the time when I was in headquarters Northern Command. This road was conceived, planned. There was a lot of discussion whether what will be the gains and how would China react, etc., etc. So, and the execution started around 2003. That means it's over how many 17 years since it's been on, and it's been constructed, and never before has China raised any objection. I'm not sure whether they have done in the border talks, but on the publicly, no statements have come as to China or on the Chinese objection to this construction. It is well on our side. So there have been bridges being constructed along the road also, because Shiok River is crisscrossing. So bridges have been made, and then of course this area where the Galwan River crosses the Shiok River or meets the Shiok River, India had made a culvert or a small bridge so that we could link up our patrols to PP14. This is PP14. Now, having given this road importance of this road allows us to maintain Daulak Beg Oldie, which is earlier only air maintained or by foot. And Daulak Beg Oldie is the approach to Karakoram, and areas to also to the eastern Ladakh, the northern portion of the eastern Ladakh, where the Karakoram highway and the China-Pakistan economic corridor is passing through. Therefore, and it goes to Pakistan occupied Kashmir, that side. So therefore, this area is very important in also relation to our Siachen, our holding of Siachen. This area is very important. So this culvert which we made to PP14. PP means patrolling point. That itself shows that nobody is occupying that. It's patrolling point.
Patrol. Limit of India's patrol.
Up to which, Indian patrol goes and shows its presence. There, Chinese PLA patrols also come, show its presence, because this is a disputed area. But as far as India is concerned, PP14 is in Indian side of LAC. Now here again, I would like to explain this. As far as the 1960 talks between India and China, China had given a perception or a map showing the LAC east of Y junction, as we call it, or estuary as they call it now. So it's quite well east of this area, and that is where the PP14 is. The fridge line of PP14-15 is on along that on our side as per the 1960 map, the 1960 understanding. Of course, Chinese came in during the 62 war and they withdrew much more behind. Now they are claiming the whole of Galwan Valley. That means, of course, most of Galwan Unit is already with them. Now they are claiming areas up to the Y junction or the estuary. That means the meeting of the river between Shiak and Galwan River. That is why the new claim they are talking about. Therefore, they came and they wanted to dominate or place their troops in PP14. So PP14, why? Because that is a point of patrolling where India goes. That means India is showing their presence, India is showing their perception. And PP15 is an adjacent patrolling point, which also is the similar, domination vis-a-vis the Daulak Bay, DBO, Shiokro. So
there are 5 points like that, right?
Yeah. PP14, PP15, PP17. The PP14 you all know. PP15 and 17 is the Hot Spring and Gogra area. So that made it 3, and then 4 points of conflict. And of course, Pangang So further south, which I'll just cover. So these are the areas of our present standoff: PP14, PP15, and PP17. And of course, and Despang, and the fourth area is which you're referring. The fifth one is Despang, which they have made some build up and deployment in the Despang opposite Daulak Bay Goldie, that Daulak Bay Goldie sector. That is not being dealt with now. Even in the talks,
the disengagement that has been agreed upon,
yes,
includes withdrawal of the Chinese from these 4 positions. Is that right?
Correct.
And they have not done it so far.
No. It is being done stage wise. Having been bitten once on the 5th of July, 15th of July, through this action of China, where we lost.
June, right? 15th of June.
June, where we lost 20 soldiers, and China also had large number of casualties, which they have not acknowledged. Indian Army is very careful that every step we need to verify their withdrawals. That is the various understanding now claimed. We have about 3 phases of talk. In the first phase, it is accepted after the standoff that withdrawal will take place from Galwan Valley area. That is PP14, PP15, and PP17. PP14 has taken place, PP15 has taken place, PP17. PP14, of course, they have withdrawn, and they have accepted to have a buffer zone. This is very temporary. Please understand that some news reports came that India cannot patrol anymore in PP14. That is incorrect. This is a temporary phase till the verification is completed, so that there are no further mishaps as it happened on.
But some reports say that we have agreed to the buffer zone being in our territory and therefore surrendered our case. This is the argument.
No, it is not. It's not. Why do you call it surrender? Because it's only a temporary phase where once the Chinese withdraw, once the PLA withdraws from PP14 they are already withdrawn. PP15, there are some troops on either side, just as about 50 odd troops, I believe, and PP17 also withdrawal is taking place. Galwan area is concerned.
It won't be no man's land anymore.
No, it will be. No man's land. It's not no man's land. Once the buffer zone restriction is lifted, patrolling will recommence. Patrolling will recommence by both sides. which I don't know what is the final understanding on this area, but the whole argument is that, or the way we are going on the talks are that buffer zone for now, so that there are no accidental or deliberate clashes between the two armies. And once the withdrawal or the disengagement and further de-escalation, that is the move back of complete troops which are in the depth of Galwan, after they all withdrawn, it should be as it was earlier, where PP14 is a patrolling point, PP15 is a patrolling point, PP17 is a patrolling point, where both sides will do patrolling till the area is finalized, or the LAC is finally finalized as to the layout of the LAC. So that will carry on. That is my understanding, and I think that is how the Indian Army is also looking at it. So there is no question of any giveaway at all. At least in Galwan area, nothing at all. Okay. Now coming to Pangang So.
That is still occupied.
Yeah. Now Pangang So is a very peculiar terrain feature, or a lake body. It's a huge lake body. Two-thirds of which is China, and 1/3 is India. Now there are this area has been an ongoing conflict ever since. Always there is some standoffs in Pangang So area. The relevance of Pangang So I will cover later. So as you can see, the lake is here, and there are several spurs. Spurs means features coming from top of the mountain towards the lake. Ridge lines coming down. So there are 8 spurs, 1, 2, 3, 4, all marked here. Now, India perceives its actual line of actual control up to spur finger 8. They call it finger 8. The spurs are called finger 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, finger 8. And China has now, or over a period of time, had reached up to finger 4, finger 5. Finger 4, finger 5, this area between 8 and finger 4, and occupied the ridge line and created some construction, tentage, etc. in these areas. Now, India used to patrol right up to finger 8 on foot, of course, because we don't have road. During the Kargil time, it is believed that the Chinese had constructed a road from finger 8 to finger 4, a motorable road, wherein they could move the troops quite fast. And this was, of course, seen only after troops returned to Ladakh after the Kargil war. And now the situation is that they had occupied much of the area between 4 and 5, which they have withdrawn in between 4 and 5, but it is reported that they're still on the ridge line of finger 5 and finger 4, which is the talks which are going on for them to withdraw. And we as far as India is concerned, status quo ante means they withdraw beyond finger 8. That is the thing. Now, here is this major issue. Right from the beginning, I had a perception that this is not going to get resolved that soon. Now, let me get back to the map of. Now, why Pangang So is that important to China or PLA? In my opinion, or in my perception, is that as you can see from Pangang So, the distance to Darbuk is not very much. So, therefore, during hostilities, China would certainly want to cut off our forces in Ladakh by coming into Darbuk, and then, of course, cut off Leh from rest of Ladakh, eastern Ladakh, which make their operations in the north easier. So I think, and in a defensive manner, because north of Pangang So, further north, runs the main highway, the single highway which runs from Tibet to Xinjiang, which enables complete logistic and troop movement, and also normal administrative movement for China, PLA and China, and Tibet. So therefore, defensively, PLA would like to give it depth by going as much forward in Pangang So as possible. Therefore, it's a combination of defensive, offensive, in my opinion. One is for, in a future war scenario, to enable, to dominate this strategic road and cut off eastern Ladakh, and defensively to protect this road which is running north of Pyongyang. So, which is the most it is the lifeline for as far as PLA and China is concerned. That's the only lifeline susceptible to all sorts of interdiction by the Indian Air Force, and if and when hostages take place. Similarly is the case in LAC. There is a tactical reason besides the strategic content as to why China has chosen this moment of time during the conflict, during the pandemic, to raise this issue or make this issue. The tactical, to my mind, again is because of the construction of that culvert over Galwan River, which in their perception meant that India is showing an offensive intent towards the Galwan Valley or toward Aksai Chin, which again the road runs not very far from this area. It's not very far. So therefore, they have a problem there with India government. That Indian intent was very clear, was to make a road up to patrol point 14 so that we can easily patrol, just like the Chinese have done. Chinese have constructed road in these areas. It is only a similar construction as the Chinese have done. But the Chinese and the PLA would not like India to have that leverage or have that capability to dominate by patrols, and thereby enhancing our claims on the LAC, perception of LAC. So this is the long and short of the area of conflict. If there's anything else you want me to clarify, I can.
I'll come to specific points. One, there is a general judgment all over the world that China has upgraded their incursions into India. It's a new development, and it is seen as such, as part of China's efforts to flex its muscles for more. How is it different, and how is it an extension or an expansion of the Chinese position? Secondly, do you think that once this disengagement takes place, the situation will go back to normal?
Yeah, the first part, Chinese have been right from the beginning, have been constructing infrastructure all along their border areas. In Tibet, as you know, extensive construction of railways, roads, bridges.
Then why are we surprised? No.
Those are the infrastructure in depth areas in their own area of LAC. We are not surprised here also.
We are doing outside.
As far as we have no surprise element as far as the infrastructure activity is concerned. That is, building of roads is concerned. There's no element of surprise at all. India is quite used to that, and India has accepted that in their area of perception of LAC. But China is objecting to our infrastructure development on a similar level or a much lesser level, and which we did much later. So therefore, there's no comparison here. Here we are doing infrastructure development along our border, probably to keeping in pace at some point of time when we could afford to do it, or let us say when we had the wherewithal to make this infrastructure. We are doing a huge infrastructure development all along our border areas, Arunachal, in Ladakh, etc. Everywhere, huge infrastructure, which has disturbed China. Chinese infrastructure development has really not disturbed India. India has accepted it. India is quite never questioned that. But when it comes to closer to LAC, even then India has not questioned it as far as their construction concerned. But they should not, as long as they don't disallow our troops from patrolling to our line of perception. That is all our issue. That's all our issue. So that, as far as infrastructure is concerned, there is no issue at all. It's their normal.
Whether this is qualitatively different and a new phase in India-China conflict.
The second part, you asked me whether this is going to end to the disengagement or de-escalation. It's $1 million question, which is very, very difficult. It's got both sides. As it looks, let us say, rationally, because they have come in for talks. They have come in for talks for disengagement and de-escalation. They have come in for talks. Indications are that the intention is to disengage and de-escalate. Intention is that. But as we know, we cannot take the Chinese at face value at all. So the fact that they have massed up troops in depth area which is the major difference between the old standoffs and the present standoff. This standoff started with their summer exercises in depth areas, which is a normal annual affair. Summer they carried out exercises in areas similar to these high altitude areas in the Dark. But this time around,
Can you switch off the map so that we can see your face?
yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Okay, that's better.
Yeah. This time around, the exercises continued, and exercises after exercise termination, they have not withdrawn the troops. There are two divisions, the mechanized and the motorized division, said that already in the depth in the Galwan Valley, in depth area.
Okay, let us take it for a moment that the disengagement has taken place, as agreed. Then what?
No, disengagement is in various phases. Once disengagement takes place across Galwan Valley, which is almost complete, and across Pangang So, which is going to take time. Our demand is that they must withdraw up to figure 8. Figure 8.
Is it realistic? Is it going to happen?
Yeah, that depends on how much we have been able to convey to them, or what leverages we applied on them during the talks. Whether the required pressure has been applied or not, or whether China is really looking forward to full de-escalation. Now, after disengagement, the de-escalation only be complete when the forces in depth, both India and China, withdraw back to their base locations. That's the time when complete de-escalation can be identified. So it is going to take time. It's going to take time. As you saw, between each disengagement, time for verification is about 48 to 72 hours, or maybe a little more. And then verification on ground through satellite, etc. It's going to take time. So this process is going to take time. Galwan Valley, of course, by and large, now the withdrawal has taken place, or the disengagement has taken place. Further disengagement has to take place more in depth, towards depth. Pangang So is where the major problem is going to take place, and in Despang Plains where de-escalation has taken place. So it is going to take time. Now, there are two ways of looking at it. One is China really wants to maintain its relations with India and the normal course as it should. I think they will not further escalate. But on the contrary, if they have other intentions, we cannot rule out that they will go back on their word and keep the forces in depth and launch. It may not be all-out war, but in areas where of their interest, where they can capture in the form of salami slicing and take areas of their interest, of which India should be very wary of. And India should be prepared.
You are saying what the health experts are talking about COVID-19. You have to live with Chinese infection. Is that what you are saying?
At least till the full de-escalation is completed. That means moving the depth troops, the massive deployment of troops in depth back to their peace location.
What happens, like in the previous occasions, then what happens is China comes forward 2 steps, then it moves back 1 step, takes a bit of our land, then everything becomes quiet. We start negotiations at the highest level, meetings between Prime Minister and Xi Jinping. Everything looks normal. And then suddenly they come again. So can you allow that kind of vicious circle to take place? Can we cut that connection? Can we take a new line on China?
I think that's the aim this time. Having learned from the past and having learned from this experience, the aim is that we want to ensure that China is nowhere capable of doing that again, at least in these areas. And let me add that we have to enhance our capabilities. These are strategic or tactical action taken considering India's weakness. First, either weakness of not wanting to engage in a war with China. We have a tendency of let us adjust and leave with it. Let us give and take, or let's give more and take less. So that sort of attitude has come in. That attitude has to change, and China has to be sure that India is not going to take it anymore lying down. And I think that a very strong military message has been sent to them in the PP-14 conflict. There is no doubt about it. Why they have come to the talks immediately was because of the casualties imposed on them and the preparation and the way India reacted to the whole incident. including at the highest level, the movement of Prime Minister Ladakh, his talk there, his talks there, his speech there, and the mobilization of Indian troops, massive mobilization of Indian troops, Indian Air Force, etc., has shaken them up. No doubt has shaken them up. And the support India has gained international community in relation to, may not be direct support, but indirectly, almost all the countries are with India as far as this conflict or this standoff is concerned. So those are the leverages which India have taken into view, and India is insisting on complete de-escalation just to ensure that such a thing does not happen. But again, adding on, we need tremendous surveillance capability of, to ensure that we get adequate notice or warning on such preparation by China. We have the Cartosat, etc. But I think the problem firstly is to analyze it properly to intelligence and then make the correct assessment and tools required for that. Those tools, I'm not too sure whether we have the latest technology available, which we'll need to develop, or we'll need to take the help of developed nations like USA, Israel, etc., to get the correct analysis. Even in this case, what I get to know is that by April we were quite clear the Chinese build-up is taking place. But I think there was a misjudged assessment that it is a normal exercise and that they will not do anything more. That is a misjudged assessment, and that was not may not have been trickled down to the military. That is what newspaper reports.
We're coming to the conclusion of our discussion. The final question is, what is the solution? The solution is only demarcation of the border. What we have done is set aside that issue and cooperating with China. Can we make a difference here and say that the core issue is demarcation? Until demarcation takes place, we will have nothing to do with China in terms of economic and political cooperation. Is that a feasible proposal?
I'm absolutely with you on this proposal, because unless the border issue is resolved, there cannot be peace and normalcy between India and China. That is very clear.
Is that sustainable?
Yeah, that's the issue. Now, this putting aside this problem way back in 89-90, I think at that point of time, perhaps that is the best solution. But in hindsight, I think it was absolutely a wrong decision. At that time, at a point of time, India and China were almost at par, parity economically and militarily, almost at par. Maybe China had an edge, but we could talk in our terms. So at that point of time, we should have agreed, or we should have insisted on resolution of border, at least those 5 years, those early 5, 6, 7 years. I think most of us in the military were always for that sort of a stance toward China, but let's say politics and diplomacy played a different game, and then we have come to face this. Or we always thought that at some point of time, when China becomes strong, China becomes economically strong, military strong. I recollect writing those in my own hands that they will come, they will take a price for the resolution of the border, and they will have it on their terms. So therefore, the point is that unless the LAC is delineated, where, to my mind, if both sides want to do it, which India must insist, this 23 areas of differences can be easily settled with both give and take, can be settled. But the major issue will be Aksai Chin and Arunachal. Although the LAC disputes were resolved or can be resolved, the major issue of Aksai Chin and Arunachal are major political issues. For
that there was a formula that we allow Aksai Chin to be part of China, and they lift the claim on Arunachal Pradesh.
The swap formula was there some time back.
We rejected at one time, but now the Chinese say there is no such proposal.
Exactly. So
there is no move on the Chinese.
So I think that part could be left for some more time, or let us say a little bit later. But the disputes along the LAC can be resolved, or the disputed areas can be sorted out, and LAC marked, on the map.
The border should be demarcated.
The first step will be the LAC, because the disputes have to be finalized. The LAC has to be finalized, and then of course talk. So unless the disputed area and the perception, there are no more difference in perception of LAC, that I think is feasible. feasible.
we can move on to a demarcation of the border.
Then we can.
So at least LAC identification should be made conditional for cooperation. But
Absolutely.
let me ask you two other questions. One, what we have done in Ladakh, that is separating Ladakh, and talking about POK being recovered from Pakistan, and the fact that Aksai Chin is also we are claiming now, unlike in the earlier past, because we always said it is our territory, but saying that we want to have Aksai Chin back. So these may have made the Chinese take a gamble on this issue. Now the whole world is saying it's a Himalayan thunder, it's an India dilemma, it is an India mistake. This is the kind of perception they have. And will that have an impact on Xi Jinping? And will it make him more reasonable and rational in dealing with this?
I think if you look as incidents have gone through, it was certainly a flawed move by China to do this, which took them, in fact, the whole reaction of India took them totally by surprise. And I don't think they have achieved what they wanted, what they set out to achieve. That is to teach India a lesson, per se, or let's say, so to say.
So have they learned a lesson?
Yeah. Now the issue is that how China has perceived it in the end, or the end has not come. The end game is not over. So we have to wait to see where China ends, where China ends this game. They will of course, one way is to have a face saving measure, that is by having time on their side. Make the talks more longer, lengthen it, and then
when their strategy right from the beginning.
Yes.
So they don't think in terms of years, they think in terms of ages.
So if I think the main indication is that if they withdraw from Bang and So to our demand and deploy their the depth areas back to the peace stations, peace location, I think that means I can say it's a victory for India. It's a victory for India.
One last question. The purpose of all this is supposedly to fill the vacuum created by the United States in the world. And if that is so, then the situation will go further and further because we do not know what the situation, economic and political and military situation of the Americans. And it depends on the elections, etc. So till the end of the year, we cannot get a full picture of what the Chinese intentions are. And therefore, if the disengagement takes place and we put a freeze on our relations with China, then we might be prepared to deal with China in the new year. Is that a reasonable hope?
I think that's how it will pan out too. I think that's how it's going to pan out. It's not going to be business as usual with China at the end of this. I don't think so.
But then the problem is, are we going to suffer more than China? That question still remains.
Yeah, China thinks that India is going to have more economic problem because of decoupling China, or let's say delinking China with. But I think overall we are not going to cut off China, or we're not going to have trade war with China in any way. We will continue with Chinese trade, etc. But in a reduced manner, so that we can cut down our trade deficit and decrease our dependence on China. That will make a whole lot of avenues open for India's options. Once you reduce our dependence on China economically and make our military, I'm not saying equal to China, at least comparable, or even where we have deterrence value, especially with regard to cyber threats, because China is very strong in cyber threats, in non-kinetic missiles. I'm not talking about nuclear missiles, etc.
Consolidate our support like quadrilateral, etc. That also must be done.
And of course, we have to go for. There is no. We do not go shy now. We should go open. We should not go shy. I think we already missed a trick by not wishing Dalai Lama on his birthday. Those opportunities, I think, should not be wasted. Again, we'll think as we are appeasing China. That feeling should not go to them. Where it is Taiwan or where it is Hong Kong, we should not be shy in voicing the correct opinion, which we all know correct opinion, but we are shy of expressing it as a nation to keep China peaceful and keep that border quiet. That I think that has to change. So those are the leverages I think we have to apply, and multilateral alliances wherever possible. We need to go for that, and otherwise things will get not as good for India, especially in regards surveillance, etc. Intelligence. We need more technical help, which we need, and most importantly, some time back, India was creating a strike reserve, mountain strike corps in the north, which got put away because of logistics and budget problems. It took off, but it is cut. It did not take off. I think now we need reserves, because any action which China does to counter it in advance, we need reserves in location, in situ. So therefore, we have now, of course, moved a division, but temporary. So creation of sufficient reserve, because it is easy to say that we can deal with China in the South China Sea, etc., and put pressure, put navy, but we have a threat on our borders. We have a land threat on our borders. So, and those borders use a lot of troops. The mountains, the huge mountain, they use a lot of troops. So therefore, we need sufficient reserves so that we can act and deter China from such salami slicing. When we have reserves in depth and which we can use to create similar incidents to them, they will stop this.
Well, Suresh, last question. I don't know whether you read Manishakar Iyer's article in the week, where he asked a question: as India has so many China experts, why is it that the Prime Minister was not advised properly? Why was it that the Prime Minister went off on a friendship offensive with China? And why is it that we are making these wrong judgments on China? Do you have any observation on that?
I think you can't fault him on that, because that has been our diplomatic or political channels all through, right after 62 war. We have been following the same sort of a strategy as far as China is concerned. Even to most of us, we felt that handling two adversaries on our borders is not easy. Pakistan and China on. So we would like to see the border with China quieter, peaceful, and therefore so that we don't have to deploy that much of resources there. So that we can deal with our, I won't say major adversary, but the real adversary who creates problem for us, Pakistan. So therefore, always there was a feeling in mind to keep China, not make
dragons lie.
Right. You can't fault him for that, I think.
Not sleeping anymore. No, but some of those experts are now saying, "Oh, we are shocked, we are surprised, we don't know." Then what were they doing all these years?
Exactly. I think that's a very unfair way of looking at it. We have done this right from the beginning, but now it is time to change. At least now, let us change and let us just take a turn for better as far as the nation is concerned in relation to China is concerned. We have to take this very difficult decision.
Thank you very much, Suresh. Very kind of you to have joined us, given us the whole picture, literally the whole picture, and also the way forward. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Pleasure. Thank you.